What's up? Welcome back for another episode of the Currency Club. My name is Whitney, and today's special guest is Ruben Watson. Ruben Watson is a man of many talents. He is an author, a public speaker, a parent leader, and the founder of Watson Family Literacy. So today we are going to hear a little bit about what he's doing in the literacy, consulting, and parent leader space. What's up, Ruben?
What's going on? Ruben Watson, originally from Grand Rapids. Shout out to everybody on the Southeast side. Proud parent leader, poet, author, public speaker. That's what I am. And I'm just honored to be with you here on the Currency Club.
Fellow Grand Rapids native. We also both went to Ottawa Hills High School.
There we go.
Talk to us about Watson Family Literacy.
I'm a reader at heart. My love for books began in Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids Public Library is where my mom used to drop me off on the weekends. You know, as I grew older and older, my love for reading took me into this space of becoming a poet. Did a lot of creative writing where, I started to realize I had a talent in that. The poetry turned into rap because I'm a hip hop head. And I was a rapper for about 2 days. And then I discovered I liked, musical production a little bit more. I got older and older, graduated from college, got married, had kids, but I always was writing creatively, poetry, different things. But my children helped give birth to me becoming an author because I was just totally uninspired by a recent trip I took to, I'll say a bookstore, I'm not going to say it, a nationally known bookstore. And I just didn't see diverse children's books. So, my wife came up with the broad idea, shout out to her, of saying, hey, why don't you publish one of the poems that you've written? 5 years later and over 500 copies of my book sold, all self-published. We're here.
All right, so you are the author of 2 children's books. One is called Where is My Grandpa? And the other one is called Friendly Skies and Sunny Days. Talk to us about the books.
I write my poems because I'm, a former educator as well. I didn't put it in my bio, but, I used to teach a lot in Michigan. And what I learned is how children learn. They learn best through rhythm and rhyme. Walter Dean Myers, when I was a kid, wrote a book called Mouse Rap. And it is like one of the first books that I read that I was inspired by because it was written all as a rap. So poetic rhyme, I took that with me. My father passed away. And my daughter had never met him. So she just became like obsessively curious about who he was because she had an event at her school for Grandparents' Day. And my mother showed up, but my father had passed away. So she was asking me questions about him for a week. And it was just every time she was asking these questions, I was like, this is like a children's book. I sat down and I actually took some of the questions that she had asked me and I constructed it to be in a rhyming pattern. Found an illustrator and really started from the ground up, looking for different children's book authors, getting a lot of mentoring, going to a lot of children's books conferences and just learning the whole business and industry of book publishing. I had some savings money set aside and released my book when my daughter was 5. So I think it was back in 2016.
Where did your second book come from?
Both of my books are about my children. This time I had a son. My son was born in 2014. I wrote my second book, Friendly Skies and Sunny Days, because I was inspired by COVID. You know what that is. Everybody experienced COVID. Everything shut down. There was limits to going in public spaces with masks on. You had to keep 6 feet in distance between you and other people that you were with in communities. It was a very tragic time. I found kind of like the silver lining in that experience because during that time, my family, we were working from home. They were going to school on their laptops. The only time that we just really started to experience joy and just having good feelings was when we went to local parks. I just kind of captured those experiences again, where my children were able to hunt butterflies, or we would just kind of stand in awe if we saw a deer or a rabbit or a blue heron just kind of at the parks we were at. And I'm talking about deep woods parks, right? I wrote that book as kind of like a time capsule to really inspire parents to get off your laptops, get off the phones, tell your kids turn off the video games and go outside and experience nature. I think sometimes all this technology that we surround ourselves with takes away opportunities just to have natural experiences. And it really boils down to a term that I studied and realized called ecotherapy. As human beings, we need fresh air. We need sunlight. We need fresh opportunities to be outside without being packed in like we were during COVID.
I love that. So I have nephews, three of
Yes.
them, and I have a
Uh-huh.
2-year-old nephew named Kingston, and Kingston loves being outside. He
Really?
loves like looking for birds in the sky,
Yeah.
helicopters, airplanes, whatever, right? But then also
Uh-huh.
just running through the sprinkler. But then
Yeah.
even my 16-year-old nephew, my dad will take him bike riding, and
Yeah.
they're just, on all these trails. And it is their happy place. So I like that.
Yep.
Thank you for introducing us to that term.
No
So,
problem.
who is your target audience for your books?
Kindergarten through fourth grade, but I have to go beyond that because when my son, before he was born, he's 8 now. When he was in my wife's womb, I was reading the books to him. I don't believe personally that it's ever too early to start reading to your children. I'm a dad, pretty much a first generation dad. My dad was in and out of my life because he was incarcerated and in the streets, but I always took that lesson from him and said, I didn't have that, but as a father, I can provide opportunities to engage with my children, be present with them. And there's also a lot of research that's geared towards supporting the mental development of your children from just reading. So you're also introducing them to, different objects, different animals, but also just reading the children automatically expands the vocabulary, right? Reading is something that is like a top priority in my list. I have like a library of, I got my books in it, but a collection of hundreds and hundreds of other authors, most of them African-American authors.
So, who is your favorite African-American author?
As of late, it has been Nicole Hannah-Jones because of the 1619 Project. It was just so well written. But originally, like growing up, like I said, Walter Dean Myers. I really started out reading Donald Goines novels. If you know anything about those, I think they did a movie on one of his books. I was just inspired by a lot of Black writers, a lot of Black creatives. Maya Angelou, read a lot of her books, and Ta-Nehisi Coates is also one of my favorite authors as well. Like, I just really love African-American literature and just opportunities to learn and engage and understand different perspectives on our experiences.
So earlier in the interview, you mentioned that you are a self-published author.
Yeah.
Tell the audience what that means for those who don't know.
All right, Currency Club, tap in. This is your moment. A self-published author is different from a traditional author. A traditional author, if we could compare it to the music business, like I said, I'm a hip hop head. A traditional author gets signed to a label. So as an author, if I went the traditional way, then I would have got connected to a publishing company, like Penguin Books or Random House. You have to send them your manuscript. They have to approve it. They'll give you a budget. They'll give you money for rights to your book. They choose the illustrator. I wasn't really interested in that because I thought about, I want to understand this business. I don't want people to take my creative capital and monetize off of it. I want to be able to monetize off of it. So I really started to seek mentors who were self-published authors. And it took me about 2 years. I had authors that I worked with when I was living in Michigan, all across the city of Detroit. I went to different events from self-published authors, and I learned the process. And the process is, first of all, investing in yourself, using your own money, creating and writing a compelling story. I had to find an author, an editor that would give me feedback on, how to make sure that the manuscript, which is the written edition of the book, has no grammatical errors, is written and engaging the students and youth. And I also had to find like test audiences. So I have young children, so I would pretty much go to different child care centers and different public schools where teachers were just looking for someone to come read to their kids. And I would just read my books and get feedback. And I would take that feedback and then kind of revamp and revise my story and write another manuscript, and also get feedback from my children. Daddy, I don't like that. Take that out. So the process itself took about 3 to 6 months, but then I also had money that I was using to find an illustrator. And the illustrator was someone I connected with because they had the design to bring the story to life. The next step is putting it all together and getting it published. So there's a lot of different websites you can go to Kindle Book Publishing is one. Also lulu.com. Those are two ones that I've used personally. And then you are able to upload your book for publishing on those sites, and you're able to market those books on those websites as well, and order copies on demand and sell them at different bookstores and on very popular websites that everybody knows about, like Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
That was a very good answer. Very comprehensive. You touched on so many things. The one thing I want to call out is feedback. So I talked about this in some of my other Currency Club interviews, but regardless of what you do, it's very important to collect feedback before you take this idea and print a bunch of copies or go to publishing or try to have it on shelves in the store, right? Yeah. Because we need to understand that maybe our first idea is not the golden ticket right out the door, right? Yes. We might be very proud of this idea, very excited, eager to get it out on shelves, but that might not be it. So yes, definitely be open to collecting feedback and test your product, your book, your service, whatever, with multiple people who represent your target audience.
I got a story about that if we got time.
We do.
So my second book, Friendly Skies and Sunny Days, was not, and this is another secret. Like you said, the first time you got to test it out. The original title of my second book was called Placid Moon and Gloomy Days. And it was based on my kids staying in because it was a rainy day. So they were sad. They couldn't go outside. What were they going to do? They were bored. They were hungry. And I read this book to my daughter. She said, I don't like it. And then I read it to her classroom. And they was like, no, I don't like this story. Don't read this to me. I switched it. I switched the context. I switched the whole. That's why it's Friendly Skies and Sunny Days. I grew up on one of my favorite shows on HBO. Is called The Wire. The character Stringer Bell, he said something that always sticks with me. Like, nobody remembers a 40-degree day. Everybody remembers that 75-degree day when the barbecue's out and you got your car clean and everybody out at the park or wherever you like to hang out. Like, everybody remembers Friendly Skies and Sunny Days. But gloomy days, no, you're trying to forget that. So I had to change my whole marketing strategy because when I read the book, it emits a particular energy. And the energy I was trying to communicate and convey is, yes, you're going to have, gloomy days, but the Friendly Skies and Sunny Days, that's when, you're able to experience that joy, get outside, run and play, chase squirrels and all that.
What is your marketing strategy?
You can find my books if you go to Etsy.com. I have my book sale. I have my own bookshop there. It's called Watson Family Literacy. My marketing strategy, quite frankly, is social media. I mean, that's where the most people are. So I utilize money for like the Facebook ads on Instagram, or I'll do Twitter ads. And I'll promote it around particular times. So like Christmas time, that's where I get a lot of my book sales. So I use the ads to promote it because everybody's looking to buy gifts around Christmas time. That's another gem for y'all if y'all picked it up. But also direct sales has been one of the ways where I've been a little bit more successful because people are inspired to be able to meet a children's book author, a Black children's book author. And I've been able to sell my books at different festivals in Michigan and North Carolina. Most recently, since it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop, I was a featured vendor at that celebration, and it was over 10,000 people there. So I literally sold out because I had an opportunity to talk to people directly and tell them about my books and why they should buy it and the importance of literacy for children and how it connects to hip hop.
What sets your book apart from other children's books?
My story is unique. I told you one of my favorite authors is Maya Angelou, and she has another quote. And what the quote is, she said, if there's a book that you've never written, that you've always wanted to read, it's your responsibility to write it. So I try to take unique approaches to tell stories. My stories encapsulate the lives of African-American children. There's a lot of books, but there's like national research that says less than 10% of books that are published every year by these big name publishers we talk about are based on the life experiences of Black children. So I try to utilize my books as a mirror for all children, but I do write it primarily for Black children to inspire them to do the things in the book, go outside and play, learn about your family history. That's what Where's My Grandpa is about. I try to write it from a perspective of just the different experiences that I think are unique and interested in sharing in the marketplace.
Yes, and that representation is so important. Representation of our Black people of color. So thank you for that. I do want to talk a little bit about cost because you shared that you had a professional editor. You shared that
Yeah.
there was an illustrator who did your
Yep.
artwork. So many costs go into writing a book. Can you
Hmm.
share maybe an estimate of what your overall startup costs were for
Okay.
your
Yeah.
first book?
Yeah. So, but we got inflation. So don't
We
time
do.
step this because costs could go up. On my first book, I spent about $3,000. And that covered an editor. That covered the cost of production, getting it created as a book. That covered the cost for my illustrator. He charged me like $700. But there is fees associated with uploading your book on the websites I mentioned, Lulu and Kindle. And also there's a fee of if you want to sell it, right? You have royalty rates, right? If you're marketing it on Amazon, if you're selling it, you can create your own price. But if you're selling it, a percentage of that goes to Amazon or whoever you choose for your book publisher. But I would say my second book, it cost a little bit more, like $4,000. But that's because I chose a more experienced illustrator. And then I spent a lot of more time on marketing. So, marketing, hiring an editor and paying an illustrator, and also putting yourself in a position to, like I said, market it online. All of that costs money. I spent about $500 or $600 within the first 30 days of my release of my book because I created a trailer to my book. I created ads for my book. And I also had to pay to monetize that. I also reached out to different content creators like you who just have experience reviewing books. So I paid them to read my book and also rate my book. You're going to spend a lot of money, if you want to publish a book, whether it's a children's book or not a children's book, you have to invest in yourself because I've been able to make more than I invested on both the books. It's always a lucrative investment if you really stick to the process. But nobody's going to know your book is released if you don't put any effort into marketing it and putting it into the marketplace.
Right. And then Ruben also mentioned selling his book at festivals. So
Yeah.
I don't know what particular festival he attended, but I know just as an entrepreneur, if you do pop-up shops or at events, sometimes you have to cover a registration fee for that too.
Absolutely. So I ain't talking about that, but that's good. That's good. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, I've been, goodness gracious, I probably do 2-3 festivals a month. Recently, I kind of scaled back because I've been able to, monetize and market it a little bit better online. Those festivals can run from $50 to $150, sometimes $200. But, the festivals I'm going to, I'm interacting. I'm having a conversation with people that are there. And I'm also talking to the organization or company that's hosting the event because I'm saying, okay, how many people are going to be there? I'm not going to show up if it's like less than 200 people there because that's going to dictate the books I sell. But like I said, the hip hop festival that I went to, it was over 5,000, 10,000 people there. It was like people everywhere. So I actually brought 13 books and left with one display copy. People were just buying it. I even had people making online orders. So making sure that, you make your rounds. That's another gem. Go to these festivals. I know there's a 616 day. I know that there's different things that take place. If you're in Grand Rapids, that's a gem. Holidays are going to be your money makers. So you got your Thanksgiving, you got your Christmas parades. We got Juneteenth. Thank God for that. I love Juneteenth, but I sell a lot of books on Juneteenth because people love Black authors, Black stories. And I'm not just talking about Black people. People from all races have purchased my books.
As they should.
Absolutely.
Research says you can tell a lot about a person based on what they spend a majority of their money on. What do you spend a majority of your money on every month or every year?
My family. They're expensive. What they say on CNN, the average cost of a kid is about $100,000. I think it's about $150,000, $200,000.
So you just talking about daily cost of living? Or you talking about vacations?
Vacations. I'm talking about my daughter just came from a choir camp, so we had to pay for that. She's interested in going to Europe. Exposure, you know what I mean? Like I didn't come up rich. I came up southeast side of Grand Rapids, low income, Jefferson and Franklin. That's where I was born. I don't know how it is now because of gentrification, but when I came up, it was very low income neighborhood. And we lived in, well, not assisted living, low income housing. Like I said, I've attained a level of success where I can provide resources and opportunities for exposure that I didn't have growing up. That costs a lot of money. Taking my kids to Jamaica, my family. Like I wanted to just go with my wife, but I was like, no, let's just everybody go.
You explained where you grew up, southeast side of Grand Rapids. It just made me think of a Lil Durk quote. Lil Durk said, we came from the trenches, not the palm trees. And that's exactly how I feel.
Well, see, give me the streets.
So my grandparents, like my
Yeah.
mom's parents, had a
Yeah.
house on Sigsbee and Fuller. So
My
Wealthy
grandmother
Boys,
was on
Sigsbee
Fuller
and
as
Fuller,
well.
uptown,
Yeah,
right?
my grandmother lived off of Fuller too. I think it was Fuller and Wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So she unfortunately sold that house. Growing up in that community,
Yep.
it taught me so much about entrepreneurship. You can meet so many unique people if you go to the local barbershops or the
Mm-hmm.
churches there. Like I have a lot of love for the southeast side of Grand Rapids and a lot of love for the children there because I did a lot of, like I said, teaching, volunteering. I used to work for Grand Rapids Parks and Recreation. So I used to be in, they used to call it Camp Paul Park. I used to
Yep.
volunteer and work at Garfield Park. It gave me a lot of insight, but it also gave me motivation to see beyond that.
So I want to play another game with you.
Yeah.
And this game is called I'm a Hustler. So you said basically you ain't have a lot growing up, which
No.
is part of the reason that a hustler now.
Mhm.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done for money?
I used to work at Myers in the bottle department. In Michigan, you get 10 cents. So people would come and, get their 10 cents. So I worked there for like a week or 2 weeks. And I came home and I said, this job is terrible. I need to find something else. I just remember coming home with the smell of Coca-Cola and Budweiser. It was so inspiring. I was like, I'm definitely going to college after this. The reason I say it's crazy is because when you think about working in the bottle department, none against it. I respect the people that do it, but it's a dirty job. I was like, 16, 17, and I was trying to just get money, like I started working at the age of 14, working at Myers. If you're from Grand Rapids, everybody named Mama didn't work at Myers. I regret that job, but it was like I should have been a cashier or something. I should have went to the meat department because that was the moment in my life where I was like, whatever I got to do to get paid, I'm going to do it. So they had a whole bunch of openings in the bottle department. Like I think I got hired the first day I started, like 2 people quit. It was like, skip this job.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about being a parent leader. What does that mean?
If I didn't coin the term, I borrowed it from somebody. But being a parent leader starts from being, first of all, keyword parent. You got to have kids. They don't have to be biologically yours. I started out accidentally. I was invited to read my book at the Salvation Army. It was like a session for kids. It was a back to school event, and I was just talking to them about the importance of literacy and reading. One of the kids was like, they looked at the book because the book has a picture of my daughter on it, and they was like, who is that? And I was like, yeah, that's my daughter. And it was like, oh, she's nice. Why isn't she here? And I remember it was a parent there who was just kind of sitting back watching. I didn't understand. I guess they was paying attention. Sometimes when I'm doing these sessions with a lot of kids, parents will sit back and they'll watch and they won't participate. And this parent was just kept on asking me like, so why did you become an author? Why did you decide to tell a story about, your father passing away? That seems kind of traumatic. And they just kept on hitting me with questions. And I was like, oh, I was really there for the kids. But, lo and behold, after my presentation, the parent came up to me and was like, wow, I really like your story. I'm trying to do a club for engaging fathers who just came from incarceration, but I just haven't found anybody that would be willing to volunteer and lead my group. So I was like, okay, well, this ain't free. I need you to buy some copies of my books or, compensate me for my time. This person was actually one of the directors of just a local social services nonprofit organization. And I agreed to kind of sit in and talk to the dads about just the importance of being present for your kids, the importance of reading to your kids. I spoke to them about my book. I talked to them about positive ways to make sure that your children are staying on track in class, dealing with misbehavior. That kind of opened up different opportunities. It was just kind of like a 3-week class where I met with a group of it was like 5 or 6 dads. Sometimes it would be like 2 dads. It opened up an opportunity for me to learn and connect with other organizations. So, you got the Salvation Army. I was able to talk to another person that I met. I was just kind of talking to a conversation with at the end of one of the parent-father sessions. And it was like, yeah, I'm a teacher. I'd love for you to come and speak to my class. So, it just kind of put me on a journey where I've been able to talk about the importance of being a father, but also the importance of educating children based on their social and cultural development at different schools. I've done it at different churches. I've also done it virtually since we're kind of in this Zoom era where I've been able to lead sessions with other parents who have a very strong investment in supporting the development of African American children. It's through an organization now. It's called Village of Wisdom, but I'm also a board member for Learning Heroes right now, which is focused on the academic development of children as well. So for me, I'll start in a place. Somebody will be inspired by the message or the words I'll say. That'll lead to another opportunity. And all these opportunities have been paid. It kind of put me in a position to monetize my experience as a first generation dad. I say that because, I had my father and I had a stepfather, but they weren't fully present in my life. So when I think about that, I've kind of had to lean in and get mentorship and support from other dads, other fathers, sometimes husbands and wives, where I've been able to receive feedback on innovative or thoughtful parenting methods. It's led to pretty much a career where I'm pretty much called upon to speak or lead workshops with different parents or different teachers, if we're talking education, and also provide consulting to help students who have an interest in going to college. That's another layer to what I do. Being a parent leader has been a career I never expected, but the Most High blessed me with.
You said a lot, and I don't want to just skate past the good stuff you said to have a positive impact on Black families, fathers, the community, children, all that. But for the sake of this show, Currency Club, entrepreneurship, people want to know how to get some money. I want to circle back to the point you made where you said you charged off top. I said you need to buy copies of my book or it's going to come with a fee. Some people are not comfortable asking for money in the very beginning. Some people will say, I'm not experienced. I've never done this before. I'm still figuring it out. I don't feel comfortable charging for my services.
I was planning to do a lot of these engagements out of the kindness of my heart, but my wife is like, if you're going to be away from our family, I need you to bring something home. So she was like, I remember I was like, they booked me Salvation Army. And she was like, how much are they paying? And I was like, I didn't think about that. Let me circle back.
Let me say that to the wife right quick.
Wife, she added it. She was like, she was playing like how much they playing. Like, I got to give her credit for that because, I do a lot of volunteer work and effort. I'm cool with that. I don't have a problem with it. No disrespect, but some people will take that kindness for a weakness. And the people that I'm working with, they're getting paid most times. They're getting paid because they need somebody to be present for their event, their festival. So you need to get paid. These nonprofits have budgets. These school districts have budgets. And if you're not asking to be compensated, you're selling yourself short, to be honest, because you're providing an opportunity and a service to your disadvantage if you're not able to monetize on it. I will be honest and say I did my whole year of volunteer. I did my volunteer campaign. All I got was sometimes some pizza and a thanks for coming, nothing else. But if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. If you need to monetize your skills and makes people pay you for your time, be clear on what your expectations is. Now, look at the time, be realistic, but you can charge whatever you want. And you can also negotiate prices, terms, conditions, all of that. So I've had to learn to do that. And I've been more successful in doing that because up front, I'm like, I'd love to do this, but I need to know what the budget is for this. How much are you willing to pay? Sometimes people get turned off by payment. Like, oh, I thought you was my bro. Bro got bills and bro got babies. So let's find a way to work together. If not, then I'll have to find another opportunity.
Or another way to contribute that doesn't require me to show up and take 5 hours of my life.
There we go.
Do your speaking event plus prep plus make PowerPoints or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm speaking from experience because I started out the same way. So most people know during the day I work in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. When I started out in this space, authoring my book, I was invited to do speaking engagements. And initially I did it for free because I was just trying to push my book, right? So I'm trying to get the word out that I'm a DEI thought leader. I have this published book. You can buy it. You can hire me as a consultant, et cetera, et cetera. So I did a lot of stuff for free initially too. And then like you, there came to a point where I can't keep doing this for free. And if you're not going to pay me, you're going to go run and pay the next person to be your keynote speaker, to show up, to fly in, to speak for an hour, to whatever.
They got the budgets. If they don't got it, you probably don't want to do it anyway. You're giving your time, energy, and talents to a group. You need to get paid for it. This is it's America. Like, come on now.
So Ruben, tell us a little bit about what you do in the consulting space.
I work pretty much for organizations that have an investment and commitment to support marginalized students from different backgrounds, but also kind of in that DEI space as well. Professionally, I work as a fundraiser, and I've been working as a fundraiser for the past 8 years. And I've been able to secure over $26 million in grants and gifts from different educational organizations and universities that I've worked for. Consulting came about because I've been able to raise a high level, millions and millions of dollars to support these organizations and universities. So I developed a skill set that has given me opportunities to work with mid-sized organizations and large-scale organizations. I'll give an example. I worked with the National College Attainment Network, and I helped them identify strategies on how to engage multicultural students and also to secure funding around supporting those types of programs. And what that entails is they learned about the work I was doing. They had pretty much a call for proposals where they have different courses that they provide to different nonprofit organizations. I was able to actually connect with them at a conference. So always make sure you're networking. And I was able to sit down with them and give them my insight on the challenges, but also opportunities to connect with different corporations and foundations who have a cemented investment in supporting marginalized students. That was pretty much separate from what I do professionally, but I was also able to monetize that opportunity because I was able to secure over $80,000 for different organizations, different nonprofit organizations seeking to secure funding from corporations and foundations.
All right.
So that's separate from the 26.
So for all our listeners and viewers, if you can document and demonstrate the value that you can add to an organization, it's easier for you to monetize your services.
Absolutely.
Ruben, how did you come up with your prices?
This time the wife wasn't involved. This time it was me. I have some other friends who are consultants. So I utilized just information they gave me about, what to charge, how to create a template for a contract. Make sure you get, this is another key for you, make sure you get payment half up front, half later, or get the full payment up front if you can. I get paid before I work. I don't work then get paid. Anytime I have a conversation with someone, I'm coming with a contract. I have a lawyer that helps me kind of make sure the language is right and looks over it. Then I'll send it to them and they'll sign it. Or I've been in situations where, they're hiring me as an independent contractor. I'll review the contract, have my wife look over it, and have my lawyer look over it before I sign it.
Lawyer. Y'all heard he got a lawyer, right? So with DEI consulting, most professionals who have experience charge a bare minimum of $150 an hour. Yeah. Can I ask you what a reasonable range is that you think a consultant should charge?
I started out at $100 an hour. Based on my, my salary history. If you work in advancement or development, you're making up to six figures. I have some colleagues I know that was making like over $200,000 a year. So you have to think about how much you are getting paid for what you do and how much money the funder that you're working with or the grantee is seeking to make. If we're looking at a $1 million loan, then off rip, you need to say, okay, if this funding is secure, then you need to pay me at least 10 to 25%. So I'm negotiable, but I do not, make discounts or say, hey, if you get this funding, then I get a percentage of that. And I've had different organizations say that to me, but I'm like, no, I get paid up front. That way you'll get the rest of the money later. I try to be realistic based on the company I'm working with. If they just getting started, I'll probably slide the fee down to like 75, but I haven't been paid less than $75 an hour to consult.
Thank you for being transparent. So with all of this work that you're doing in the parent space, community space, empowering, uplifting Black people, what is your greatest challenge?
Comprehensively keeping focused on one thing. We live in an era of ADHD and multitasking. So I got like entrepreneur ADHD. Like I could have a conversation with someone and that could lead to us talking about an opportunity to look into a franchise. I could also kind of pin into, real estate development, or I can start working on somebody on an event that I've hosted because I've hosted different events, children's fairs, health fairs over the years, and I've been compensated for all of those things. So I think for me, it's more about being more strategic with what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, because when I started outside of my 9 to 5, I just got into it because I was like, I just want to feel like what it's like to write a book. But then I learned the business of being an author. And then I started to learn about, I got into fundraising professionally, but then I learned the business of consulting. So I get into these different industries and start, just kind of with a genuine, I just want to learn and know about this. I've been blessed and different doors have opened as I've continued to progress and learn and connect with more people. I think the common thing I would say is being clear on what you want to do, but also having a very set schedule. And sometimes, my schedule is all over the place, but I'm clear. I got a calendar on who I'm meeting with, what I'm meeting with them about, and what particular business venture is associated with.
I also liked your emphasis on being curious. So you said
Yeah.
sometimes you were just interested in learning more about a topic. So you were researching and stuff like that too.
I'm a lifelong learner. Like I told you, Grand Rapids Public Library is where, in the summertime, if I wasn't working, I was in the library tucked off reading a book. I didn't have a computer at home. We was low income. So the only time I was able to get on the internet, I'm talking about the original internet, not this internet, was when I was at the library. So I'm able to put myself in a position, in an environment where, okay, it has the internet and it has books. So all I'm doing while my mom's dropping me off and going to do laundry and run her errands is reading books and getting on the internet. So I'm soaking up information, learning about different things. Not only just learning it, I'm trying to apply it. I'm still the same way. Now I just read at home.
What is your greatest accomplishment with your business?
I don't know what my greatest accomplishment is because I have so much to accomplish. I'm thankful the books I've sold, the companies I've consulted with, the parents I've taught and led workshops with, but I'm not dead yet. So I feel like I have the energy, I have the mental capacity. My mind, I feel like my mind is a gold mine. That's like a Nas lyric that I kind of rehearse a lot. I'm doing stuff I want to do. I'm living a life that I never dreamed of, and I'm blessed to be able to do it. I think my greatest accomplishment thus far has been to be able to monetize my skill set outside of my 9-to-5, but it's not a particular thing yet because I'm still here. It's businesses I want to run. It's industries I want to get into. It's franchises I want to be a part of. So I'm going to just keep going. And I'll tell you when I retire. How about that?
All right. So what's next for your business? Either as an author, a consultant, a parent leader, any of those things?
I'm definitely working on my next set of books. One book is called Where's My Grandma? Because I have a third child. And guess what my son's name is? Kingston.
I'm happy to introduce him to my Kingston. Yes.
Yep. So aww. I have a goal to have a book about all of my kids. So Where's My Grandpa was my daughter. Friendly Skies and Sunny Days were my daughter and my son. So I have to create a story for my other son. And then my last son, I have to do a book for him. So as long as they're having great experiences, whether it's through travel, whether it's through going outside and playing or a particular sport or hobby they have, I'm going to have a story to support it.
Okay, so I want to play another game with you. This game is called For the Culture. It's really just a question. What is your favorite Black-owned business?
I don't know if they're paying attention, but if you're from Grand Rapids, then you know this shirt right here is by great designer Brandon and Margaret Williamson, PRSVR. Like, I've been supporting them. I'm very close with the Williamson family, Black-owned designers. They've done designers for Chris Brown, Nelly, P. Diddy, Charlemagne, but they were one of the first Black businesses that I was able to work with because I used to be in video production in college. I always support their brand. Definitely a big fan of them. Another one that I've recently got into, my guy, I got to shout out my Ottawa Hills guys, Jonathan Jokes with the Motu Vijay Spirits. That's for the adults. If you like, I think they got a champagne or a vodka. Big fan of Willie the Kid. Everything he doing. Always listen to his albums. Very solid. He's solid, nice with the pen. One of the best rappers to me. And I'm not just saying it because he's from Grand Rapids. And then
real quick, let me just hop in and say, because you shout out Jonathan Jokes and
that's my guy.
And I know that's a partnership. It's my guy too. I love Jonathan. I also want to shout out Eye Candy. So they have a red wine that is delicious because I'm a wine drinker. So and on top of the Motu, and I also want to shout out Persevere. I connected with them through Jonathan Jokes. He hosted an event with Willie the Kid years ago and hired me to host the event. Shout out Jonathan.
Yo, you did? Okay.
Put some money in my pocket, right?
I mean, Jonathan, we graduated in the same class, but I always shout him out. I always salute him. And then Brandon, I'm very close with his younger brother, Darren. They all from like Iroquois Middle School, if y'all know what that is in Grand Rapids. I'm inspired by my people that's go-getters. I'm inspired by you. You out there killing it. So if you from my city, you Black, and you doing something that's inspiring, I'm going to shout you out. I tip my hat.
We appreciate you. And I just got to circle back because you just gave Darren a shout out. So Darren Williamson is married to Tyra Jones Williamson, who was a guest on the Currency Club. We're going to link her episode so y'all can watch it, but I'm friends with her too. So you just gave me a shout out, which I appreciate. I need you to tell the viewers why they should subscribe to the Currency Club.
All right, listen, the Currency Club is where it's at. This is a show that brings a lot of of fresh information and gems for all the hustlers, all the go-getters, all the entrepreneurs. You got to learn. Information is to be shared, but it's up to you to get it. And the Currency Club makes it easy for you. So tap in with them. Yes.
So I want to thank you for your time, your energy, all the gems you dropped throughout the show. We're definitely going to invite you back. Before you go, I also need you to leave the viewers with an inspirational message.
Don't let your memories shape your dreams. Nothing wrong with memories, nothing wrong with the past. The things that you've been through should not shape where you can go and what you can do and who you can be. Whatever you want to do, if you put your mind to it, bring it into fruition, but be strategic with it. And if you're not able to achieve that, ask yourself why. Don't let your memories shape your dreams.
And with that being said, I need you all to hit that subscribe button to join the club.
Subscribe now.